How do you end 2025 strong with your agency? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Yvonne of Amaze Yourself, and we help agency owners, business owners, and coaches to get more clients. We do so by looking at their current client acquisition systems, improving them, finding them new ways to get more clients, and optimizing their operations so they're ready to scale, all in all, to get you more clients and to increase your revenue. If you don't increase your revenue, we don't get paid. And today we're going to talk about something that is really upon us now, the last 3.5 months of this year and 2025, how to end it with a really big bang. If you want to make sure that you get to your goals, all of them, this is the time to really start to focus. Maybe you're already planning ahead for 2026, but don't forget these final months where everybody's back to work, where everybody's back to school, where everything gets to be normal again, just before the holiday season starts. It's where you can make a massive impact. So, what do you do? Well, there are a couple of things you need to make sure that you're doing. And one of the things is to make sure that you do most great things with your time. You really need to ensure that you use your time wisely, effectively, and efficiently. And very often, this is where a lot of agency owners struggle, right? How do I get everything done? I have so little time. So I'm going to tell you something controversial. I'm going to tell you to start planning. Nothing controversial there. And I'm also going to tell you not to plan too much. But what I would like for you to start planning first are things around your family that are important to you. So maybe you drop off your kid every morning. Maybe you pick them up as well. Maybe you go with them to visit sports, or you help them with their homework, or when they have a day off from school, you want to be there as well, or you at least want to be half the day there. Those are the things you start to plan in your calendar first, right? The family commitments that are important to you. And it might go beyond your children. Maybe you want to plan a date night with your spouse. Whatever you need, you start to plan those family things first. Then, what you're going to start is things that are important to you. Okay. Maybe you need to get a massage once a month. You need to go to the gym every day. You want to get your hair done. Doesn't really matter, but those things that make you perform better. Okay. Maybe you need to see a nutritionist to look after your wellness, your nutrition. Do the things that are important to you. Because what all too often happens is that we are so busy working that everything else falls between the waistline. And then when we feel, oh, I actually need to make time for that, we can't because our calendar is already so full. There is no time to actually lock it in. So work it the other way around. Start by making things that are important to you and that make you more productive, make you a better human. Plan those in first. Okay, so for me, my calendar is blocked off until 10 a.m. in the mornings because that's when I drop off my daughter, that's when I go to gym, and that's when I take care of things that I need in the morning to be a better functioning human, to be more productive, and to be more focused on what it is I want to achieve. All right, so two things you need to start planning. First, family, second, you, and sometimes it's the other way around. And then the third thing I want you to start planning are those critical elements for your business. Now, I know critical elements is different for everyone, but for most people, it is definitely check out your finances and your numbers and your data. I've planned in every Monday time to do so. I check in my finances daily, but on a weekly basis, I gather everything, I go over everything, I double check everything, I make sure the money comes in, I make sure not too much money comes out, and I check whatever is happening. Yes, I have a bookkeeper. Yes, I have a financial advisor. And yes, I still do it myself because it is my money, my business. I need to stay on top of it. All right. So plan time to check your finances, plan time to check your data. All right. How are you doing? Are you devoting and your team a lot of time on social media? What is happening? What are the numbers? Which post did perform actually really well? Which post did perform not great at all? What do you need to change? How were the call to actions? How was the interaction? But also, how are you engaging with others, you and your team? Okay, that's one thing. Then the other thing you need to look at is sales, the sales numbers. How many meetings are set up every week? How many meetings do convert? How many sessions are being booked in and how many people show up to these sessions? If sales calls don't convert, you need to investigate why they're not converting. What do you need to change in your sales conversations to actually get clients? If the appointment gets booked in, but nobody shows up, then ask yourself, why don't they show up? Do I need to send them more reminders? Does someone from my team need to follow up? What's happening there? Do we maybe, instead of only send them emails, also send them text messages? What do you need to do? And do you have enough leads coming in? If not, something to work on. So block out some time to work on your data, to check your data, to see what's happening, to see what's going on, to see what you need to change, right? And these are just two examples of data, or three, but you have more things happening in your business that you need to track to see how successful you are. And I highly encourage you that you have dashboards set up for all these things for you to check, to really keep a finger on the pulse to see how things are moving. You cannot lead your company if you don't have insights in how it's doing. And too often we are too busy running our company, too busy to serve clients. And we think, oh, we'll do that, late at night or in the weekend. And then we don't because we're too tired. And this is why your business isn't growing as quickly as it should, because you need to stay on top of it. You need to see what is going on and where you can improve. And then you need to take action. That's another thing you need to plan in. Team meetings. How is your team doing? Where can they see improvements? Do they need your support? What do they see needs happening? Plan weekly all around team meetings in, as well as regular ones-on-ones, especially when you don't work together in the same building and you work remote like I do and my team. We have regular weekly check-ins to see how things are going, what needs to happen, and just in general, how life is. If there's no water cooler around, you need to bring the water cooler to the conversation and actually spend time with your team to check in how they're doing. So, finances, data crunching, team. Those are the things that I have planned every week in my calendar on a recurring basis because they are important to me. Those are the things you need to plan in yourself. Now, if you're really busy, your calendar will get busy rather soon as well. If you have some flexibility in your calendar, that's great. But it is also a bit of a risk, because what I see is when people don't like planning, and let's be honest, I think the majority of the people, at least I work with, don't like planning. And they are more creative and they like to investigate things and they like to, work with creativity and really take a deep dive into certain topics just to get to know more and to understand it better, or to serve their clients better. But you need to ask yourself, besides those that I just mentioned, what are critical elements for your business that you know that maybe you're the ones that constantly get postponed, right? What are critical things that really make a difference to your clients that you know you have to book in time, because otherwise it won't happen? Because what I see too often is that it's almost as there are two outliners, so to say. One is so incredibly busy, only working with clients, only working on the business, never takes any time to strategically plan. That's why the business isn't growing, because they don't even take a time out to see what's happening and why is it not going the way I want it, or it's going the way I want it, but how do I get more, right? You need to have that strategic check-in every week, okay? The other thing that I've noticed is that there are people that aren't at the level where they want to be, and they have a bit more time at hand. What happens there is that even though they have more time, they still push away the uncomfortable tasks like sales, outreach, connecting, and they kind of lose themselves in tasks that someone else could easily do, that someone else might easily do better, quicker, cheaper. And they get lost in things that are very comfortable, like social media, instead of calling a potential client, like writing a newsletter, instead of going to a networking event and speaking one to one, one face to face, or reaching out to former clients, or reaching out to potential new clients. It is so interesting to me that everybody, no matter how busy they are in their work, kind of postpones the tasks that are most important for their growth because they are focusing on other things, the things that are more easy. Now, let me tell you a little secret. If something is really easy, it is not going to make a big difference in your business. If something is kind of like, oh, I get to do that, it is definitely not something that most likely you should be doing. Someone in your team should be doing it, or you should hire to do it for you. And then when you hire someone to do it for you, don't make the mistake of filling up that time with other unimportant matters, because that also happens. And when you do that, your growth will actually not only be stagnant, it will decline. So, how to make the most of your time is to plan the critical things for your business and plan things that push you out of your comfort zone. Preferably do it in the morning, because if you do it in the morning, most of us have most energy. Most of us is when we do the deep thinking, and that's also going to help you to really stay focused. What I see all too often is someone starting their day just checking their email, and then while they're at it, they reply to the email, and then a client asks this and they get lost in it, and that reminds them they need to do something else for another client, and something else, and before they know it, 2 hours, half a day gone. You know what happened there? They were not in control of their day. They let someone else who sent them the email dictate their time. So if you want to grow, stay in control. Stay the one that determines what you do with your time. That's why I tell you to plan certain aspects, not because I love planning, but because I know that if you plan certain aspects in, they will get done. And if you leave enough time open for dealing with clients, being creative, letting go of a lot of these must do's, then is where the right balance becomes between doing what needs to be done to grow and executing what needs to be done to grow. Okay, but don't think just the execution and just servicing clients is going to help you grow. It, of course, is essential, but it needs more of you. Now, what do you do when you really despise planning? Like I said, in business, it is, unless you're one of the others, which is totally fine, I don't bump into them. It is critical to plan certain elements in your calendar. Now, what happens very often is when you plan something, let's say I call it my CEO day, where I check my finances, my data, and I go over everything, right? When I plan that in every Monday morning, I do that for 2 Mondays. And then on the third Monday, I go like, yeah, not interested, not doing it. And I know it's not just me who has that rebellious streak. It is just Even if I tell myself to do it on a regular basis, I won't do it because I feel like I don't have to, I don't want to, so I just ignore it. If you're the same, then you were listening to me just now, you were thinking, oh, you can tell me to plan in things, but I know it won't last, it won't work. All right. What I then suggest you do is you still block out time in your calendar for important things like CEO days, checking your finances, not team meetings, because team meetings you do with others, so you will show up on those and you will have to plan those in, but like critical elements that really change the growth of your business, like outreach and the likes. Instead of saying, okay, Monday morning outreach, Monday afternoon CEO day, Tuesday morning outreach, Wednesday morning outreach, instead of blocking it off like that, you just block off certain periods of time. And as you know what is critical for you to do, you determine in that moment what it is you are going to do. What are you going to focus on? But keep your choices of where to focus on limited to those things I mentioned. CEO day, finances, data, how is the sales going, outreach, and the likes. Okay? In that instance, planning won't be in your way, planning will be in your favor, and you may develop a rhythm that you say, well, every Monday is when I look at my finances. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you do it. Don't get too busy working to not allow yourself to work on your growth, because that's definitely what's going to happen when you don't take time for that. Now, I told you how to make the most of everything. And then I get the question, how do I know that I'm on track and how do I know I move in the right direction? And this is especially potent right now in September and even in October. This is so potent because the beginning of the year, we've all set these goals and we're very focused and we know what it is we want and we go for it and full throttle ahead. But we're now almost in Q4, right? We've the ninth month, and I know that many things happened during this year that kind of deviated you from your original strategy, that kind of took you away from the focus. You may not even recall the goals you set for yourself at the beginning of this year. You may not even have clear what it is you want to achieve. You just get on with it. You work and work and work because you know working gets you to your goal. Well, as much as that is true, it is also very wrong. Because if you continue to work without having a very, very clear focus, what you need to work on to get to your goal, guess what? You will not get to your goal at all. You will not make it happen. And oh, I see a note now. Was not expecting the advice to plan family first, but you're absolutely correct. Yes, Cynthia, for me, that is truly what makes a difference. And that is truly what is going to help you to basically hit it out of the park. So what I was going to say is you're at the end of the year almost. Refresh your goals. Be honest with yourself. Maybe you have achieved everything. Amazing. Is there something extra you want to achieve? Maybe you are just doing well. Look back. Is there anything you missed that you now want to bring in? Or maybe you are not where you envisioned that you wanted to be. Okay, because you put down too many goals, something happened and it was unattainable. Then ask yourself, all right, I've got 3.5 months left. Now, what is it that I want to focus on these coming 3.5 months to make me feel good about my year? Don't go too big, all right? Go big, but don't go too big. Keep it in a way that you feel I've got this. If I focus, if I do the right things, I know I can achieve it. And if right now your current goals aren't feeling like that, I'm highly encouraging you to adjust these just for this last quarter. Make sure that you feel, yes, I'm going to hit those goals at the end of this year. Make them so that you feel good about the year, knowing what you know now, knowing what happened in those first 9 months, and take them with, and then really, really set yourself up for success by having that clear focus. Because once you know your goals, then the next thing you're going to do is to actually work backwards. Now, what do I need to do in these coming months to achieve my goals? And the beautiful thing is, all you have to do is focus on these things that you determined to do. Everything else should fall beyond the waistline. Now, I'm not saying your family should fall beyond the waistline. I'm not saying your finances or your sales or your outreach or your marketing. I'm not saying that, because remember, we have those planned in. But look at it in a way that you know I need to take certain actions to get to that result. So, if your goal is to get more clients, then ask yourself, if I need to get this amount of money, right? Because very often we think in money, we don't think in clients. Let's say I need 100K for the next 4 months. That's my goal. I need to sell to 10 clients to get to my 100K, right? 10 clients, 10K per client, 100K. Okay, easy enough, 10 clients. So, how many sales calls or sales conversations do I need to have before I get to my 10 clients? Well, let's say your conversion rate is 50%. Then 10 clients means I need to have 20 sales conversations. All right, 20 sales conversations. What is the show up rate of these sales conversations? Because these days, not everybody does as they say, right? Not everybody shows up, even though they booked in a meeting with you. So let's say the conversion rate is 50%. Then to get 10 clients, we need 20 sales calls. We need 40 calls, 40 meetings booked in. All right. Okay. Now I know I need to have 40 meetings booked in, 40 appointments set up. How many people do I need to speak to, reach out to, network with, ask for referrals, engage with, reach out to, send emails to before I get 40 appointments? Maybe that number is 10 times as high. All right. 10 conversations leads to book in one appointment. All right. So then I need 400 connections, outreach moments, emails, networking before I get to my 10 clients in total. You see how all of a sudden the number 10, which seemed not as much, now became a larger number because of all the steps that lead you to getting actual clients. All right, so I have 400 people I need to reach to. I've got 4 months left. That is 100 clients per month. Now, what do I do on a daily basis to get to that 100 a month? I didn't do the math because this was just an example doing from the top of my head. But if I have 100 a month and I have, let's say, 20 days, it's 5 people per day. I need to reach out to 5 people a day to get to my 10 clients. And that is if your conversion rate on sales calls is 50% and your show up rate is 50%. And when you have all the numbers I just mentioned. So that is very clear. 5 people a day. So whatever I'm going to do during my day, besides delivering the quality services that I do, I'm going to reach out to 5 people. That's the first thing I'm going to do, because if I do that, I'll reach my goal. So that is how you stay on track. You determine how many clients you want, how many people you need to reach out to, and then you determine how you're going to reach out to. Now, in my um, in my programs, we work with several, well, at least 10 ways to get more clients. But we always need to find your preferred way for you to get more clients. So we're not doing 10 because that's too much. We might settle on one or two, but you need to have a strategy to get to your goal. And once you have a strategy, you're very clear and you get to focus and you get to have the results. So, how do you set yourself up for a strong, successful final quarter? What's your goal? What do you need to do to achieve your goal? What does that mean on a daily basis? Plan in the things that are essential. Your family, you, your non negotiables for your business. Don't plan everything, do plan your team, and give yourself true time to actually do it all. But don't do too much. Do what you determine that's going to make a difference in your business, and everything else should not happen. If you want to know more about how you can get more clients guaranteed, because if you do not make more money, we don't get paid, reach out. I would love to help you.